the competition scene. Because again, when you look at the competition, there's nothing different from the training. If you have a competition training, a real good competition training, doesn't need to be like 100 guys in the training room. But if you know how to do a high-level competition training, then the training and the competition is merely the same. It's almost identical. The only main difference is that you have a person who his job is to enforce the rules of the competition. That's it. Nothing else has changed. It's the same mat. You still face, an opponent who has mostly the same skill as you. The crowd is the same because you have crowd in the training room as well. People are watching you train as well. And you have a coach that you maybe not gonna even hear him because of all the stress and all the noise around the competition. So it's the same as training. And if you used to this intensity in training, the intensity in the competition wouldn't surprise you. And when you said like you have these people who are really good in the training room, but when they go to the competition, they're not as effective. Usually it happens because they're not pushing themselves in the training room. They train with, the people they know they can do whatever they want. They never try to push themselves to expose their weaknesses in the training room. And when they go to the competition, they know that because they lack the confidence in their skills because everybody knows how hard they train before the competition. If you push yourself and try to really maximize your skills in the training room before you go to the competition. And when you could have pushed yourself a little bit more, but you backed off because you said, no, I'm good, or I want to roll with this guy because I know he's an easier round for me. And those doubts will resurface anytime you step in those competition mats, for sure. That's one way. The second way is experience. Of course, when you go for your second competition, you don't have as much of experience as those other guys that competed 100 times, 20 times, 30 times. And you go to those competitions to build those confidence and experience. That's also a main factor. But when you train as you compete, then you wouldn't even feel different in the competition mats.
Now, another thing that people who suffer from being stuck in like a passive mindset experience is accepting bad positions. Like as they're fighting to retain guard, let's say, they might get to a point where it's the third wave of trying to defend a passing attempt, and they just kind of accept the position and start defending from the bottom. How much of the battle do you feel is just a mindset of not accepting a bad position?
I mean, I tell my students to never give 3 points. Okay, so for example, if somebody sweep you, sometimes they will sweep you. Like nobody is unbeatable or unsweepable. Especially, there's a few people that are like that. But if he's going to sweep you or she's going to sweep you, they'll have to put so much effort to that they're gonna cost a lot of energy for them. If they try to press your guard and maybe they manage, it will be so tiring for them that it's gonna cost so much energy for them. You're not giving anything for free. When you have this mindset, that's where you try to learn, okay, where is the defensive cycle is over or starting, and when I need to stop trying to retain the position and I need to escape the position. For any guard pass, if we're talking about bottom game, for any guard pass, there's 5 crucial steps for any guard pass. Okay. First and foremost, you have to have effective contact with your opponent, right? I can never pass your guard if I don't have effective grips, right? Just running around side to side, it's not effective, So first, I need a good effective connection, and the second thing I need is a good angle, right? If I'm running towards your guard, then I give you the grips, I give you the guard, and give you everything that you need. So the moment I have connection, I need to have a good angle. Usually going to the side, trying to pin your leg, pin your hips. Then I need to change the angle, as I said, like change your level. The next step will be to free one of my legs from your legs. For example, if I'm in half guard, I have to free one of my legs in order to pass, right? If I have one leg in between both of your legs, you still have a guard. then the next thing will be to have an effective to changing your level and stabilizing your position, and then the last one will be to finishing that pass, whether it will be with a hip control or with a crossface. Without one of those stages, I will never pass your guard. So if I don't have a hip, like a crossface, for example, I can't stabilize the pass because I can always lift up my shoulder from the mat, preventing you from getting the points. Because in order to get the points for the pass, you have to pin my shoulder to the mat, right? So as long as I can lift my shoulder from the mat, you're not going to get points for the pass. If I can retain one of your legs in between my legs, then you wouldn't never get the pass because I have a half guard, for example, or butterfly guard. If you don't have an effective connection or good angles, then you wouldn't be able to pass. So when you have those stages, now you just need to know how to react to each part of the stages, right? If you have connections, then I can have grips, right? You touch my legs, I can have your sleeves. I have 2-on-1. If you have one of your legs in between my legs, I can have half guard. I can have my legs in between your legs, and I have a butterfly or de la Riva, or X guard or single leg X. If you have hip control, then I need to maybe get my legs in between your legs just to strap your legs. If you have hip control, I need to lift my shoulder up. So the moment you have identify those phases, you just need to know how to react to these stages accordingly, and then you can always pass the guard because you have specific goals to fight in those specific scenarios instead of like just trying to have this mindset of like, oh shit, I need to do something before you pass my guard. You identify the stage that you're in, block one of those stages, and then retain your guard.
Tomer, a couple times this has come up in the conversation. You've mentioned, we've both mentioned it kind of passingly, but I'd like to zoom in on it. Fatigue. I wish I could credit this quote to whoever came up with it first, but I've heard the quote: a black belt who's exhausted becomes a brown belt. Exhausted brown belt's a purple. Exhausted blue is a white belt, and an exhausted white belt's a dead man. Right. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on fighting while fatigued, and how does someone? Probably an obvious question, but how does someone get better at doing that? And what are the things that you like to tell people to rely on most when they're completely fatigued?
Oh, there's a lot of questions in those three statements. But I think I remember I heard that quote from, I think in one of the UFCs, but it wasn't about fatigue. I think it was about getting punched. So I think a black belt who get punched first, you get brown belt, and then when you get punched again, purple, and so forth. You know. But I like the metaphor for being fatigued, because that's also good and also true. You know, when you have a Shark Tank, for example, you know, the first minute you're still like a high level black belt, but at the 7 minute mark, you feel like a blue belt and then a white belt, and then like you feel like you're gonna die. I mean, you just have to focus on skill level, because everybody's gonna get fatigued. You know, the best guys, they feel really strong on the first minute of the fight, but they never feel the same on that last 10 minutes of the fight. So everybody gets tired. That's something that you can never prevent. And you can use that to your advantage. But in order to prevent fatigue from building up fast, you should use energy efficiently. And when you use energy efficiently, it's because you know how to use you know how to use your technique effectively. And when you have high level skills and you have high level of technique, you know when to put more energy into the moves and when you can rest, when the position that you can slow down, and when the position that you say, now I need to react fast and exert more energy. So for example, again, when we go back into guard retention, you have three main positions that are mainly for retaining and getting back your guard. If your opponent passed the line of your hips, if your opponent passed the line of your shoulder, and if your opponent is cross-facing you in half guard. Those are the positions where you're not thinking about attacking, you're thinking mainly on retaining and escaping those positions. Because if your opponent has double shin control and is over your head in a kind of like a north-south position, you don't want to attack from that. You want to recover as fast as you can, because that's a really bad position for you. Because it's already hard to control your guard. It's going to be way harder to do that when you're upside down. So that's like 100% defensive position. When he passed the line of your hips, you should focus on retaining, because he already has like three of the main stages of the pass. He has a good angle, good leverage, and grips. And when he has a crossface on you, he's a really good control on pinning you down. The only thing he needs to do is just free his leg. So you have to focus on getting your frames back, getting an inside position back, and then retaining your guard. And when you have high level of technique in those specific areas, you know to relax, breathe, and then do whatever you need to do to escape those positions. When you don't have the high level skills in those positions, that's where you freak out and exert a lot of energy to kind of escape in those positions. And sometimes those positions will come. Like sometimes a really good passer will try to get half guard on you a lot. And when you exert a lot of energy just to push him away, you're going to get fatigued. But when you have a high level of skills, you can control the distance a little bit more effectively, or you know how to escape those positions a bit more effectively.
Tomer, do you find that the people who don't sit on the wall between rounds typically develop these kinds of skills better? Is that something that really goes a long way by just, even though you're completely fatigued, your grips are burned, you got nothing left, it feels like, but you still go out there when they call the next round? Do those people tend to adapt to this better?
Of course, because at the end of the day, it's mat time, right? It's mat time. And when you have more mat time, then your skill will get better. Of course, there's a huge difference when we talk on high-level competitors and hobbyists. None of them are better than the other, but they should have different training plans, right? Competitors should push themselves and should train effectively because they can't train the same intensity every day, all long. And hobbyists should focus on quality over quantity, right? So if you can train every day, and you can train only 3 times per week, or 2 times per week, try to maximize those 2 times. Right? If you go to that training and you sit from you have like 5 rounds and you sit 2 rounds on the wall, then you didn't maximize your training. And again, if you do it for fun and you just go for lifestyle and talk with your friend, that's totally okay. Like I never gonna push the guy who comes to have fun. But if your focus is on improving fast, then use those rounds. Even if you get beat up, you can learn from those rounds that you get beat up. Try to learn, what happened. Even if you work on your pin escapes, that goes back to what we said in the beginning. When you have good, the majority of time you're gonna spend in those bad positions, especially in the beginning. The majority of your time in jiu-jitsu, you're gonna spend in those bad positions. So learn to enjoy them and learn how to escape them. And going back to your question, you try to maximize the time on your mat. Even if you do like a slow roll, especially with those higher belts that can teach you some stuff, just try to do some specific training, let them work and try to understand what they do and how to prevent that and trying to do your best with them because they're gonna lift your level up. So unless they're like those dicks who are just trying to kick your ass and not trying even to give you anything to learn from.
Yeah, for sure. Well, man, it's something that helped me a lot when it comes to fatigue is something that I realized this a few years ago. It was right before the pandemic. I was training in a competition class, and we were about like 6 or 7 rounds in, and I remember just feeling like completely obliterated. I was so exhausted. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, how in the world am I going to keep? I think there was still 2 more rounds. And I was like, man, I don't want to sit out, but it's like, man, I got like nothing left. I'm just going to be like a corpse for the next 2 rounds, And I look around the mat and everyone was visually like, oh, fuck. Like everyone was really tired. And that's when it hit me like, oh yeah, everybody else is tired too. They're doing the same training. It's the same training. And I'm not in the best shape of everybody in the room, but I'm also certainly not in the worst. And so I think that helps too, to keep in mind, man, if you're tired, the person you're rolling with is probably also tired too, unless they just got there late or something. Yeah.
Exactly. Or they try to kind of like avoid those hard positions and pushing themselves. That also can happen. And again, there's a huge difference between high level competitors and hobbyists. High level competitors should maximize the week of training. And of course, they're going to get tired on Thursday. They're going to get tired. They're going to get tired on Thursday because they train throughout the week. You should get tired. You should finish this training. And if you're training on Friday, finish the training on Friday. And then you have, the better half of Friday and Saturday to rest. then you start again, because we train from Sunday to Friday. But if you have Saturday and Sunday to rest, then maximize those 2 days to rest and push yourself throughout the week. That's the goal of the training. Of course, there's a learning curve. You don't want to be like upside down Y curve where it's like super high and then super low. You want to have like those ups and downs in those training weeks, at least in my opinion. You don't want to push into a maximized state and then drop it down, because then you don't maximize those 2 last days of training. But when you have high intensity days and mediocre days, and then low days and then high again, you can maximize the training much more.
Let's talk about that. That's a great point, actually. So how do you, generally speaking, for yourself and for your athletes, how do you, I guess, lay out the week? Because obviously you don't want to train 100% every single day. Eventually that's how injuries happen. People get broken down. It's good to have days that are more technically focused and days that are more heavier training, like more like intensive sparring and stuff. How do you like to break that up usually?
I mean, our athletes, they train around 4 to 6 hours a day on the mat. They have drilling session in the morning. They have the competition training afterwards. And between 2 to 3 days a week, they have another situational training right after that. So it's around 3 hours in the morning and then a lighter evening training. And in those days that they don't have the situational training, they do 2 to 3 times of strength and conditioning and then another lighter jiu-jitsu training at night. I do believe that you should train every day. As if you're a competitor, you should train every day. Of course, sometimes you're super tired, so you go out to train and you just drill the technique, and you rest during the rounds. The morning training should be your maximized training. Like, you should focus mainly, at least in my opinion, your first part of the day should be focused on high intensity training. That's where you're most fresh and you're most cognitively active. So you learn better, you perform better, and you can train better. And then you can either go to work, if you teach, if you have a side job, or if you run a class. And then you do either your strength training at night, or you do your lighter training if you're a full-time competitor at night as well, which is super light training. It's like drilling technique, and then you do some low intensity rolls in your class. The main portion of the training, like the competition training, usually is an hour of sparring. The sparring can vary, but it's around 40 minutes to an hour of sparring. It can be situational sparring, can be specific training, can be resistant training, and can be just regular sparring. The reason is because you can control. It never an hour of high intensity sparring. Maybe once a week, but usually it's between 20 minutes of 30 minutes of high intensity sparring, and around that will be, resistant drills, specific training, or situational training, where specific training should be, working on a specific position, having a specific goal in this position. For example, trying to set up an X guard. You start in an upper guard and then try to set up an X guard where your opponent, is giving you 50%, 20%, 70% resistance. Situational sparring will start in this position until point is achieved. So starting X guard, we basically train this situation where you have an X guard and you try to sweep, take the back, submit, and the guy try to pass the guard. And when we have points or submission, we reset. And resistant training, as I said before, is basically drilling with a bit more intensity. So you drill, let's say we drill setting up X guard. I ask from your opponent to give you some reaction when you drill. Maybe he breaks your grip, maybe he move a little bit, just so you can feel the transitions in those positions. And sparring is sparring. There's so many ways you can make sparring interesting. Of course, there's some regular sparring, but you can always do Shark Tank or rotational sparring, where your goal is always to pull guard. And the other guys can, just be on top, so you play on bottom. You can switch up, or say you pull guard once and then you have to play on top. You do specific situational sparring in rotational sparring. For example, you divide the class into groups, and the first round you should play on bottom, let's say close guard, and then the second round you play side control. So the first round you do a regular sparring from close guard. Second round, you do regular sparring round where you start in side control and then you reverse the role. Your opponent do close guard and then side control on you. So you can play with those positions. The reason is because you want to spend a lot of time in different positions. Because if you do only regular sparring, yes, you work on your best strength, but you don't spend a lot of time in those bad areas. Maybe once in a while when somebody passes your guard. But when you spend a lot of time in side control, mount, back take, stack pass, you can dig in those positions that you don't want to be in, and you want to feel comfortable in this position. When you spend some time in those positions, when the moment comes and you're going to get in those positions, you'll feel comfortable. And that's what you want to build in those through this training.
That's excellent. Yeah, I really appreciate you breaking that down, because there's a lot of people out there that I think have a trouble finding that balance. And I think it is important to understand that most of the best people in the world definitely have a balance, and you got to take that into consideration for sure.
That's something that I'm trying to break down a lot in my courses, in my instructionals, and in my Instagram page a lot. I try to talk and kind of like build a method around that, so it'll be easier for
excellent.
people.
That's brilliant. I really like that. Tomer, I'll tell you what, we've reached about the halfway point of the show here, man. I always play a game with my guests. You've done this before. It's a game called the Pummel. For the new listeners, the Pummel is basically a series of random questions. Some of them are about jiu-jitsu. Some of these have nothing to do with jiu-jitsu. But Tomer, if you're down to play for the third or fourth time, I'd love to have you play this again with me.
I was scared from the game because I did so well last time, and I always give the same answer. So I promised myself that I wouldn't give the same answer to this game. So it's going to be interesting to see what I came up with.
I've also added some new questions, so that'll help.
Nice.
And I'll try to select questions that I might not have asked you last time. So, nice. New question for you. What's the largest animal you think you could beat in hand-to-hand combat?
Wow. I'm going to go out there and say a bear.
A bear? I know. You think you can take a bear?
A young bear. A young bear, maybe. Without the claws.
A baby bear. No claw. Okay, so a declawed baby bear.
Yeah, no shark, though. If you give me a shark, I'm going to be like a baby. I'm super scared from everything. Yeah.
I remember you and I both share the horrible phobia of sharks. So yeah, I'm with you on that. The Russians have bears that they wrestle with and stuff. So maybe a younger one of those things you might be able to do something
Let's
with.
Go.
If you found a genie lamp and you can make 3 wishes, the normal genie rules apply. So no killing people and no wishing for more wishes. What would your 3 wishes be?
Whoa. Okay. So first, let me be able to exert all my knowledge of jiu-jitsu on the competition mats, because I always said that if I were able to put out all the knowledge that I have in my head on the competition mat, I will be like an undefeated world champion, like multiple time world champion. So I will beat everyone. So that's the first. I have 3 wishes.
So you have 3 wishes. You got 2 more.
Well, that's the first one. Okay. Second one will be to eat whatever I want without getting fat. But that's gonna be like a monkey paw. So let's say that I can eat whatever I want, but I can still keep the calorie either deficit or not deficit that I want to. So let's say I have a diet, I can eat whatever I want and still be in the diet. If I want to gain mass, that I can eat whatever I want and still gain mass. So that's the first thing.
Awesome. That's a first on the game, and now that's one that I would probably use that for myself too. Yeah, eating unlimited and not getting fat. That's a brilliant choice. Yeah, you get extra points for that one. One more wish.
And one more wish. I'll have all the gold or like platinum members in all the airlines. So we'll always get either a free upgrade. Because I travel so much, and only now I get like a gold membership in one of those airlines, and I get like free passes and free upgrades and go to the lounges and all lounges. So if I have that in all the airlines, I will be a king. So yeah, that's what I need to get those.
Tomer, I think
business. Yeah.
I think you're officially the best. You gave the best answers to that question so far. Yeah, really, dude. The first one, being able to use all the knowledge that you have when you need it, because that's the big struggle. Like, imagine if you could if you could tap into and access any technique that you've ever seen online or experienced in a seminar or something. It's not the battle of knowledge. It's the battle of accessing the knowledge, right?
Yeah,
and then. Man, eating without gaining weight for people that love food like me, that's a good one. And then another one, when people oftentimes they'll say something like they wish they could fly, like they wish they had the power to fly or something. But dude, man, screw flying. If you could do like first class or like Delta One, like anywhere you go, like bro, that's way better. I'll take the 9 hour. I'll take the 9 hours of like high life rather than just a 30-second flight.
Once I have someone who kind of like give me like the VIP access to in the airport, where he just bring me from the moment I get in, no lines, no security. I just went straight into the duty free, and it took me like 10 minutes. I said like, fuck, that could be so handy. That's amazing. It wouldn't even, no lines, nothing, just going out straight to this. And then you go to the lounge and you just drink coffee, work some, eat some good food. And there you have like really good airlines like the Emirates, for example. It's like a whole new experience. So yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, dude, there's so many levels of luxury these days, like with airlines.
Exactly.
Man. The last time I flew to the U.S., we have a friend here who actually works for American Express, and he hooked us up with their like top tier lounge, access to the lounge. Wow. And so there's the American Express lounge, and then there's like the VIP lounge beyond that. I didn't know anything. I've been one of those guys sitting against the wall in the terminal my whole life. Like I sleep on the floor with like a rolled up hoodie, So I've never experienced anything like this. And when I went and like we're sitting down, just the food they give you and like the comfort of, there's like beds. I'm just like, dude, I can't believe I've been missing out on this my whole life.
In one of those lounges, I found out there's a sauna room. So it was like a luxury for me to have like an 8-hour layover. I went to sleep like 2 hours, then I did some sauna, and then I eat some good food, went back and sleep again. It was like a spa day in the airport.
Oh my God, dude. I can only imagine. Yeah. This was just the Sao Paulo airport. So I can only imagine if you go to like the Emirates or if you go to like, oh my God, there must be some just crazy levels of comfort and luxury. So anyway, Good wishes, man. You're definitely the champion of that question for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
What do you think is the worst job that you ever had?
Wow. Worst that I ever had. I mean, I was in the army, so I don't know if it's considered a job, but I cleaned a lot of toilets. It's kind of like something that you had to do. I didn't get any money for it, so I don't know if that's considered a job. But you had to like have every week someone has to clean the toilet, and everybody doesn't give a crap. Literally, when someone else will clean the toilet. So yeah, I think that would be the worst job that I ever did.
Yeah, I would say that definitely counts. If you had to do it because it was part of what your tasks were, that's a job, even if you're not getting paid. Nice. That's a rough one. What's something you wish you were better at outside of martial arts?
Wow. I mean, I consider myself as a good people person, but I would still want to be a better people person. To have better skills, a better way to communicate with people and to understand people and reach out to people. I still think that I'm good at it, but it's something that I always want to improve, and that goes to like leadership skills and social skills and all that stuff. Because I feel like when you can bridge the gap in the communication gap, then a lot of doors can open, whether it's business, whether it's politics, whether it's jiu-jitsu, coaching, or whatever. So I wish I could be way better than that.
Great answer, man. Really good answer. What do you think is we talked earlier about you wish you could eat relentlessly and never gain weight. What's your favorite bad food? What's your favorite junk food?
I promise. I mean, I think last time I said hamburger, right? And pizza. But I'll change that to... Yeah, I'll say that it's definitely fried chicken, a schnitzel, but it's fried chicken. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
All day, all day, every day. That will be my favorite cheat day. I just eat a pile of fried chicken and with a pile of ketchup and just dip it in and regret it immediately, but
Immediately,
enjoy
yes.
everything.
Yeah.
But enjoy everything.
That's one of those. That's one of those foods that you crave so bad, and it sounds so good, and you're eating it and you're enjoying it. But the second you're satisfied, you're just like, "Oh, dude, I can't believe I just did that. I'm so terrible for doing that." Yeah.
And I really love spicy stuff. I really love spicy food. So
nice.
So spicy food is not bad, but let's say if we talk about the bad food that I like to eat, if I add to the ketchup, I add super spicy stuff to the ketchup because I went to the US, I think it was Dallas, and I found out a shop there called, I think it was Spice World or something like that, and I bought a small bottle of one of the spiciest pepper in the world. The name of it is The End. Like a small bottle like that, and the end there's a like a flat line with a small bead on top of it, and it's insanely spicy. I think in a Scoville measurement, Scoville is the way for you to measure how something is spicy or not. I think Tabasco is 5,000, right? And the ghost chili pepper is around 1 million. It's like 1.5 million. This is like 2.5 million. This is insanely spicy. When I try it, because I'm insane in spicy. When I try it, it's not a liquid. It's like Tabasco. It's like small drops. So I pour a lot of it on my chicken breast and the rice, because I thought I'm a man. And I started eating it, and it started to get so spicy. I mean, it was like painfully spicy. I was enjoying it in the first minute, and then I was immediately regretted it. And there's a few ways for you to stop spicy for the people who hear that. So that's like a life hack. It's either eating cucumbers, eating rice, plain rice, or drinking milk. And I didn't have any of those because I put all the spicy food on the rice. So I was like suffering. I had a mini panic attack. True story. I started telling myself, like, what did I do? I'm going to die. People will write that I died because I ate spicy. I was really panicking. I had no bread, no rice, and no milk. I have only almond milk, and I don't think it counts. So yeah, but
dude, a spicy food panic attack is a real thing, man. There have been a few times where I've eaten something or had a sauce from somewhere where I just realized immediately, like, oh no, this was a mistake. Like this is a situation now, you know.
And nothing to do. Yeah.
Nothing to do. And then the worst thing is if you're sweating from your face and stuff, and you start like wiping your sweat and it touches your eyes, like, oh my God.
Oh, that's even worse.
If depending what it is, like if it's a sauce or something and you have it on your finger, that can make it way, way worse. But is that the spiciest?
The way they go out. Like after when you go to the toilet, that's where you really pay for what you did.
You think it burns? You think it burns now? Yeah, wait till later.
Yeah.
What is that? The spiciest thing you've ever eaten? That sauce from Dallas, or is there something you've had that was even hotter?
I mean, that sauce. When people talk to me about spicy food, I say like that's not a real spicy food because it's industrial. It's not a real.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's not a real thing. Like it's a special combination of all the ghost pepper and the California Reaper, I think, and some other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's insane. But no, the spiciest thing that I ever eaten was in Thailand. I lived there for a few months when I traveled the world. I trained there and I had an apartment there, and down the street there was a really good Thai restaurant. And when I go there, I said, like, I want to eat like you eat. So just give me the same level of spicy that you eat. Yeah. And they start laughing. And I said, no, I'm serious. Like, I love spicy food. Give me the same thing that you eat. And I order a tom yum soup, which is one of the spiciest, not spiciest, but it's a real spicy soup that they eat in Thailand. And like a fried rice with chicken, but I told them to do it extra spicy. And they gave me those dishes, and they also gave me like 3 cups of rice and 3 plates of cucumbers. And I remember I ate that, and that burned so much. You know, it was so good because it tastes amazing, but it started to be spicy at the same time. So you don't know if you want to keep eating or just keep suffering the spiciness. So it's insane. But it was insanely spicy. Yeah.
There's a science behind that where even though something is really spicy, it triggers something in your brain or in your system that makes you want to keep on eating it though. Like most people, like when you hit something, when you think of something that's causing you distress or pain or something like that, you'd think, okay, well, you just stop. Why do you keep on taking more bites? And I was watching a thing where they talk about there is a science how it makes you in the moment addicted to getting more of it. So it makes you kind of like compulsively keep going.
I think in one of my psychology courses, we learn in biology that you have like this evolutionary trigger that you some people enjoy the pain. So
yeah, sure.
It's kind of acts on that trigger when it's not like not a kinky thing, but it's more of like, you feel that pain, so you want to endure it a little bit more. It's kind of like trigger that feeling, and that's why you want to eat. That's why you want to eat more of that spicy food.
Yeah, probably a lot of our listeners can relate to that too. A lot of jiu-jitsu people, I bet,
enjoy pain. Enjoying being in pain.
Like, why do I keep doing this? Yeah. That's great, man. Tomer, what do you think is your most hated position in jiu-jitsu to get stuck in?
Well, okay, so I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but I think the worst one is the upside close guard or reverse mount, however you call it, where you sit on me and your back is facing it. So reverse mount is basically mount, but he's reversed. So his back is facing my face, and I'm kind of like closing a guard on him, and he's closing a guard on me, and we're kind of like stuck in this weird position where there's like a mutual agreement that let's both of us open our legs.
This just got really awkward. Let's readjust this configuration.
Nobody knows what to do. There's no solution. So nobody, like, if somebody tells you they know what they're doing from there, they're lying. There's nothing that you can do. You just hope one of us will open up our legs. But the thing is, you have kind of like mount and I have kind of like close guard, so nobody wants to open up the legs. Yeah, so kind of like an awkward position.
That's a great answer. It's less of a suffering position, just more of a socially embarrassing position for sure.
Exactly.
What do you think is I asked you about your phobia. It's the same as mine. It's sharks. How about who was your childhood hero?
I think now I can say it's a childhood because now I'm 31 and kind of like in my, when I was 17, 16, GSP, Georges St. Pierre, one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. Kind of like my childhood hero when I think about like this, because I mean, this guy literally inspired me to be a really good martial artist and a really good person as a whole, because every time he was interviewed or the way he acts, the way he talks, the way he trained, the way he lives is like a demonstration of martial arts. And maybe he does some, maybe he party more than people should see, but at least he do it under closed doors. So his image is amazing, and he preach on a really high level sportsmanship and lifestyle. So it's something that I really aspire to do. So I can say he's kind of like my childhood hero.
That's a great answer, man. Yeah, that's something I always appreciated about GSP also, man. He was like in the world of MMA, you have like fighters and you have martial artists. And there really is like, I know it seems like everyone is both of those things, but some people really exemplify being a fighter and being a martial artist. And I always thought that GSP was definitely in the category of like a true martial artist. So 100%. I can appreciate that answer a lot. Yeah.
And I really encourage people to see they can write on YouTube. I don't want to spoil, but they can write on YouTube like GSP meets his childhood bully. And he talks about, because GSP got bullied a lot when he was young in school. People, harassed him and bullied him and he was facing a lot of violence. And after he succeeded, he met one of his childhood bullies in his hometown. And the way he talked about it, people need to hear it. It's a really amazing story. So look it up. Like GSP meets his or George St. Pierre meets his childhood bully.
Yeah, that was an excellent video. I remember that very clearly. That was a very, very good. I won't spoil it. Definitely go look that up if you guys are listening. It's a really, really cool video. We talked about your favorite food. What's your most hated food? What's something you cannot eat no matter what?
Oh wow! I wanted to say something, but I'm not gonna say it because. But let me think of a better answer than that.
Now I really want to know.
I know I'm gonna get so much hate for it, so it's better for me not to say it. Wow. Well, let me think. I think like chicken in the oven.
Because, oven baked chicken. Okay.
Yeah, oven baked chicken. Yeah, oven baked chicken. Yeah. Not because it's gross or something, but because when I served in the army, I ate so much of it, and that was the only thing that you get, like this fried oven baked chicken, and they give you like a small portion in the beginning. So, and you needed to have good connections to get more protein. But if you didn't have a good connection, or you didn't want to go to the cook and tell him to give me more, then you get like this small piece, and you have to like really dig to get more meat out of those mini pieces. And I remember like telling myself, like, I hate trying to dig for those small pieces. So that's why I hate oven baked chicken.
I hear you, dude. I can relate to that. I think there's periods of time in our lives where we're stuck eating one thing, especially if you work in like the food industry. I worked when I was after high school. I worked in some restaurants and stuff, and the access to food that I had at the time was just what they had there. So if you're working at like a Pizza Hut, the last thing you want to eat for like probably a year after you're done working there is a Pizza Hut pizza. Yeah,
100%.
So you're
my dad worked when he was young. He worked in an ice cream shop, and he told me like, "Dude, Tomer, I can never see ice cream after that because you are around it so much, so you don't even want to see it or smell it or taste it anymore." Yeah, so I can relate.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned fried chicken earlier. I meant to ask you, by the way. So you've had fried chicken in the U.S. What's the best fried chicken you've had in the U.S.?
Wow. None of the really best one for sure. Like there's no really good answer that I can say that I won't get backlash of like, oh, you never ate this type of fried chicken. I'm really lacking of I need to improve my my American food. I mean, taste the best American food out there, because when I always went to the US, I was in a diet, so I could never really taste the good food.
So you've never had like KFC or Popeyes or anything like that?
KFC I have in my country as well, so I ate KFC.
Okay.
Not a huge fan.
Yeah, me neither.
I ate Wendy's. I ate In-N-Out and all those special ones, Taco Bell and all that stuff. But when I was in LA, a friend of mine took me to eat in one of those Mexican food. I don't remember the name. I don't remember the name of that restaurant, but it was a legit like local Mexican food. It was amazing. I love Mexican food, so it was amazing.
Those are the best.
Like everything that I took there was pure enjoyment. And I ate a really good spicy wings in Houston. So I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but it was amazing. And I love chicken wings. So yeah.
That's great. Now, dude, Mexican food's amazing. That's one of the things I really, really miss about the U.S. is Mexican food. Because we don't, here in Brazil, they have some Mexican food. They have Mexican restaurants, but it's just, there's something missing. It's just not quite the same thing.
But I hear you have a really good sushi restaurant, right, in Brazil.
Oh my God! Here in Sao Paulo, especially, yeah, it's the biggest Japanese population in the world outside of Japan. So
really?
Yeah, that's actually how jiu-jitsu and judo and all that is so big here. It's just because there's such a massive Japanese population here, and it's the sushi's unbelievable. It's so good here.
Really? Because I went to Japan this year. And that's where I really tasted amazing sushi. Yeah. That was insane. Like any shop that you go there, the sushi is just incredible. And their ramen soups there is just amazing. Like I ate solely just ramen and sushi. That's what I ate for like 2 weeks.
Oh my God. Yeah. Dude, Japan has been on my bucket list for almost my whole life, man. I want to go so bad to visit Japan and Ireland, because I'm Irish descendant. So I really want to go to Ireland. I really want to go to Japan, but Japan is probably first above everything right now, just because there's so much to see and do that's related to like martial arts and stuff too. And all that. I want to see like the arena where they had the Pride events and things like that. That'd be amazing to visit.
So many places to see. I went only to Tokyo for 2 weeks, which is way too much for Tokyo. But we had a training camp there and competitions, so that's why. And I explored a lot of Tokyo, which was insane. There's so many amazing places to see there. But going out there to Kyoto and all those outside places out of Tokyo is just a must, in my opinion. It's just an amazing place, and the culture is amazing. It's such an amazing place to visit.
I would love to, man. I would love to get out there and see it. That'd be amazing. Yeah, but about the sushi, one thing that's cool about what that they do in Brazil, there's a thing called rodízio in Brazil. And what that is, if you've ever been to like a Brazilian steakhouse, you've probably seen this before. But basically, you order what you want, and they make it fresh, and they just keep bringing it to you until you tell them to stop, right? And nice. So they do that. They do that not only with the steakhouse type stuff, but they do it with pizza, and they also do it with sushi. So you can go to like a really good sushi spot and order, whatever rolls or plates or dishes you want. And it's one price. And then you can just keep ordering plates and rolls and stuff until you're done. So it's not a buffet where it's all sitting there. Yeah. The chef actually makes it for you on the spot, and you just keep ordering, and it doesn't, the bill doesn't get higher. You pay like, $30 or $40 or whatever. And it's just eat as much as you want, and he makes it fresh. So that's something different than what I've experienced before. But if you're ever down here, I'll take you around.
I would love to go, but it's it's like a red line for me, because I know I'm going to 10 kilos at night.
You don't have that. You don't have that genie wish you asked for earlier, for real.
Yeah. If I had that genie wish, 100%.
If you could have a superpower, what would you choose?
Wow. I always fall on that fail in that question. I always try to come up with a really good answer. Really good a cool superpower. I think last time I said not to poop, right? Like I'll still digest.
Yeah, I do remember that now.
I'm still digesting, but I'm not pooping. So that could be like a really handy thing, because you spend like 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day, going to the toilet. You can do a lot of stuff with those 2 hours.
So selective, basically pooping on command, or scheduling your poop.
Exactly. If I want to feel that feeling, I can go to the toilet. But if I don't want to, then I can skip that feeling.
That's a perfectly acceptable superpower. I would love to see the comic book they make out of that. If the superhero that has that power, that would be an interesting book to read for sure.
99% sure there's one character in the Boys series that has that power.
Probably,
There's so many good, unique superpowers there, so 100% it will be there.
Yeah, Constipation Man or something like that. Tomer, final question for the Pummel game. If a zombie apocalypse happens right now, what's the first thing you do?
The first thing I do?
Yeah.
The reasonable answer will be to gather resources. Ideally, I would want to gather resources, get into my bunker, and kind of like, see all the. Yeah, I know that's a better one. See all the apocalypse zombie movies and see how they deal with that apocalypse, and then have a plan of attack. See all those zombie movies. The good and the bad one, the realistic one and not the realistic one. Because you can see a lot of, strategies,
That's a good answer. So you basically just start watching tape, start watching film, just like an athlete. Excellent. And Tomer, that was the final question for the Pummel game. Congratulations. You win for the 4th time, and you got your double underhooks. So, Tomer, we were talking earlier about, the psychology behind being aggressive and not being so passive. What do you think are some of the technical elements of a really good aggressive guard?
Technical elements of good aggressive guard. attacking. I mean, if we're talking about grappling, nogi is attacking the legs, having an offensive game. And specifically when we talk about the legs is because the attacking leg locks is something that will always be available for you. Always. Doesn't matter if your opponent posture is different or if he's playing different. If he's on his knees or standing up, you can still attack the knees, attack the leg locks. But if he has an upright posture, you cannot attack triangles, for example. So for triangle, for example, you need to have a specific posture or break his posture in order to attack the triangle. But the legs will always be available. And when you attack the legs, your opponent will give you specific reactions that you can use to sweep or to transition into a different position. So in order to attack, in order to defend the leg lock, you will have to, move to a certain position that you can use to sweep, or you will have to use a defensive roll in order to escape. So you can use it to either transition to a different position or to attack a sweep or a back take, a wrestle up or whatever. I don't necessarily start teaching leg locks at the beginning, but I tell my athletes, when you have a good offensive game, when your opponent is respecting your submissions, he will start react differently. So if he knows that if he'll make a mistake that will cost him the match, getting submitted, then he will react with way more of hesitance, and that will make him predictable. Okay, and that's where you can initiate sweeps, or you can attack with more of a confidence, because if you know that he's going to do a mistake that will cost him his fight or his match, he will maybe attack a little bit less or be more of conservative and try to stay closed game, and then you can attack sweeps from there, and etc.
We were talking earlier about how a lot of times you think that students should begin focusing on their retention, that's something really important to focus on first. Once they move on from that, once they get pretty comfortable with retaining guard, how do you like to look at the guard as far as like the network of positions that are available and exploring them and learning them? Do you have, is that usually by a per student basis? Like if you see one guy that could potentially be really good using De La Hiva, you might send him in that direction, versus you might see another student that might be more of a spider guard player. How do you typically navigate students through expanding on the guard once their retention is in place?
That's a really good question and really complicated one, because again, if we're talking about people who do jiu-jitsu for fun and they come to just learn the art, I will teach them. I will aspire to teach them everything, because I want them to see some De La Hiva, some half guard, some single leg X, maybe berimbauls for fun, and they can choose if they want to keep investing in that game. Because if they're training twice a week, I will try just to build we have our own curriculum, and we give some, we divide it into like practical stuff and there's some cool moves, and they can choose which one they want to do because they want to enjoy training. For competitors, then we have our specific game that we focus on, which is mainly close guard, 50-50, and X guard. But of course, some athletes eventually will develop their own style. And if I see that the stuff is working for them, for example, we have one of our best students is playing a lot of lapel guards. So that's not my main guard. I know a lot about lapel because I study it and I drill it, but that's not my main guard. But it works for him. So I want him to keep expanding his knowledge on this position, but keep adding I call it like our system. Because if people will know how to block his lapel guard, then he will have to change the scenario into one of the things that, in my opinion, are foolproof. Close guard, 50-50, and X guard. And if the guy know how to block those positions, or at least you don't get into this position, then you can always go back to the stuff that you like to do, which is, in his case, the lapel guard. So you never want to have like this one narrow mindset. As I said in the beginning, you want to know a lot about little and a little about a lot. So you want to have like a lot of details, in his case, on the lapel guard, but he also needs to know a lot about close guard, X guard, and 50-50, for example.
whenever you're talking technique or about specific positions, you always mention tactics as well as the technical aspects of the position itself as well. Tomer, you have a new instructional out with us called a competition tested bottom game. Tell us about the instructional. Are these all elements that you try to mix into the instructional?
Yes, exactly. Like all the things that I talked about here in our talk, in our conversation is on that instructional. And honestly, I think it's one of the best ones that I ever put out there, because, it started really small, but then I saw that I can add a lot of stuff and I kept adding more. And I feel like, yeah, but I start talking about this, but I want to add a little bit more about that. And it's really like I do with all of my instructional, I start with breaking down the system, in my opinion, that works, like the approach of the 5 steps of guard passing, and the approach of how to identify the 3 worst positions that you never want to be at when you want to retain the guard. Also, talking a lot about the main ways that people pass guard. And when you break down those systems, now we can start implementing specific defenses into those guards. That will be the next step, part in the instructional. And then after we kind of like foolproof your guard retention and the knowledge on guard retention, then we move into those specific positions, like De La Riva, X guard, and close guard. And I added a lot of like concept into those positions, which I think people will really love, how to break down the concept of close guard. For example, you have like 4 main posture in close guard that you want to be really good at. So, for example, the main one that most of people know is when he's on his knees and when he's standing up. So upright posture and broken down posture. But there's 2 positions that people are missing, where the first one will be when he's trying to stand. So he's not standing up, but he's trying to stand. You can break down his posture then, counter this attempt on standing up. And when he's standing up, but his posture is bent over, which is completely different when his posture is fully upright. And when you identify those main posture in close guard, that when he's on his knees, when he's trying to stand up, when he's standing up, bending over, and when he's standing up fully upright, then you see the stuff that you can do from them in really clear way. As I said before, when you know how to identify the 5 steps of the guard pass, then you can build on the specific passes for those specific passes. Because I talk in the instructional on the 5 stages, but also on the most common way for people to pass. So when you know the stages and the specific passes, then you can build specific defenses on those areas. And then we talk on how to the ways that you want to focus solely on guard retention. And when you understand all of those concepts, then we build on that. And one of the main guards that I talk about there, we talk about De La Riva, X guard, open guard, and close guard. And there's 4 main stages that you can be in close guard. The 2 main ones that people talk about is when the guy is on his knees and the guy is standing up. But there's 2 other positions that are really common, where the guy is trying to stand up in the close guard, and when the guy is standing up in the close guard, but he's bent over. So there are those 2 different positions in the close guard. So you have 4 main ones. You have when he's on his knees, when he's trying to stand up, when he's standing up and he's bending over, so you can attack more submissions. And when he's fully upright, that's where you have to disturb his base. And we talk on each part of this system, and we build those specific sweeps or submission on these positions. That's how you can see clearly how to attack from this position. So now you have the confidence on controlling your guard. Now you know how to approach those different stages in each specific guard. So that's why I think this instructional can really help a lot of people understanding the positions.
That's excellent. That is outstanding. Well, you got guys, if you're interested in checking this instructional out, again, it's called Competition Tested Bottom Game. It's available right now at bjjfanatics.com. So go check it out. Tomer, in closing, man, what are some of your major goals for 2024? What would you like to accomplish this year?
Wow. I know it sounds cliche, but I really, really want to aspire the BJJ community and help as much as I can. No joke here. Like I always say in interviews that my goal is to be the next John Danaher or other famous coaches. So that's something that I aspire to be.
Well, folks, unfortunately, we're fresh out of time. Tomer, it's always a pleasure having you here on the show, man. I appreciate you sharing all your knowledge today. You gave some great insight both on technique and tactics, and it was a great conversation. You're welcome back anytime you'd like to come back.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure talking to you. So I'm sure we're going to be back. So.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate that, my friend. For anyone out there that wants to keep up with Tomer, it's easy to do so. He's most active on Instagram. Follow him at Tomer Alroy or at Tomer BJJ. Great content that he puts up all the time, jiu-jitsu knowledge, so go check it out. He's also active on YouTube. Just type his name into YouTube and subscribe to his channel, and make sure you hit the bell icon to get notified when he adds new videos. His website's tomeralroy.com. That's a great place to keep up with everything he's got going on. And guys, if you are interested in making your guard more efficient, check out Competition Tested Bottom Game right now on BJJFanatics.com. It's Tomer's latest instructional he has with us, so go check that out. And that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. I really appreciate you tuning in. Please stay tuned for the next episode of the BJJ Fanatics podcast.